Welcome back, warriors. Today, we're diving into the heart of the Viking world with a comprehensive recap of Vikings, Valhalla Season 2. If you haven't seen Season 2 yet, beware major spoilers ahead. Following the battle for Kattegat, Forkbeard's forces capture Olaf and his surviving men. Leif hunts for Olaf with the hope of avenging Leif's death, and whilst in Kattegat, meets Jorundur Torvilsson, a mysterious stranger. To prevent his own execution, Olaf strikes a deal with Forkbeard that keeps his captive son Magnus alive in exchange for Olaf, helping advise Canut's eldest son, Svein Knutsson, to rule as king of Norway with Eilfjafu as regent. Forkbeard's forces then depart from Kattegat. In London, Godwin grows concerned regarding Emma's safety due to Canut's continued absence, and successfully prevents an assassination attempt. Meanwhile, Freydis and Harald are in hiding and learn that many pagans now revere Freydis whilst Vikings are taking them to Jomsborg for safety. They soon reunite with Leif, who had tracked down bounty hunters sent to kill Harald. Jorundur, having followed Leif, reveals that he's a Viking and agrees to help them escape. They successfully evade Olaf's forces and are rescued by Jorundur's longships, and Freydis secretly reveals to Leif that she is pregnant with Harald's child. Leif and Harald then depart, hoping to get aid from Harald's uncle in Novgorod, whilst Freydis sails for Jomsborg. In Norway, Olaf hunts down escaping pagans and has Svein kill one of them. Upon returning to Kattegat, Olaf meets with Eilfjafu, who grows concerned for Svein's safety. In London, Godwin tortures the captured assassin, but he is later secretly killed to prevent Godwin from discovering who sent him. In Jomsborg, Freydis arrives and meets its rulers, Lord Herker and Lady Gudrid, who hope to turn Jomsborg into a new Uppsala with Freydis as their Jithja. In Novgorod, Leif and Harald arrive and meet with Harald's uncle, Grand Prince Yaroslav the Wise, and Lord Vidimir. However, Yaroslav refuses to aid Harald so he can continue trading with Canut's empire, whilst the trade route to Constantinople is blocked by invading Pechenegs. Leif meets Miriam, an astrolabe maker, and has vivid hallucinations of Liv. Hoping to buy an army with gold, Harald fights against the African warrior Kaysen, but despite Harald's victory, Kaysen and his partner Badu flee with the winnings. Impressed by Harald's fighting ability, Vidimir agrees to pay him to help escort precious cargo past the Pechenegs. In an attempt to hallucinate Liv once more, Leif takes opium, and after nearly falling to his death, he collapses. Leif awakens in Miriam's lodgings, having been rescued from the cold, and discovers that she is terminally ill. Harald meets with Jester, a slaver, and agrees to protect his boat on the journey to Constantinople, but must first find a crew. He recruits the warrior Kaysen, conman Badu, and the blind Pecheneg Kuria, who can guide them along the Dnieper River. Leif invites Miriam to join them, whilst Vidimir and his servant Elena join the crew carrying a precious silver chest. Together, the crew leave Novgorod on a sled, but shortly after beginning their journey, one of Jester's slaves dies from the cold. In London, Emma discovers that Aelfwine, one of her ladies-in-waiting and Godwin's lover, is the sister of the assassin, and that Godwin has proposed marriage. In Jomsborg, many of the pagan refugees are forced into labor, while Herker goes raiding, leaving his nephew Jorundur in charge. Hrefna, a young girl who idolizes Freydis, is tricked by Jorundur to journey alone to a nearby boneyard to prove her worth. Freydis finds Hrefna injured and defends her from a wild boar before returning her home. In Kievan Rus, the crew journey along a frozen river until it breaks and the sled becomes trapped. Whilst the sled is eventually freed, the ice dam that kept the river frozen has since thawed. The crew are forced to release the boat from the sled, but both Elena and Vidimir fall through the ice. Only Elena can be saved in time as Vidimir drowns, and Elena is revealed to be his daughter. In Kattegat, Olaf receives word that Harald has met with their uncle in Novgorod and plans to travel there with Svein. In London, Emma imprisons Aelfwine, and she is tortured by Canut's Huskarl Agnar for information about her brother and Godwin. Aelfwine reveals that Godwin wishes for his future children to rule England as she succumbs to her wounds. Emma informs Godwin of Aelfwine's death, and Jitha confides in him. In Jomsborg, Gudrid chastises Jorundur for mixing with the pagan refugees and becomes suspicious of the now heavily pregnant Freydis, who wishes for the refugees to be treated as equals. Herker returns from raiding and, angered by Freydis' actions, commands the Vikings to massacre the refugees and imprisons both Jorundur and Freydis. On the Dnieper River, the boat's rudder breaks, forcing the crew to stop. Leif and Harald travel to nearby ruins and smith a new rudder as Leif tells Harald about Freydis' pregnancy. A lone Varangian, Baggy, discovers the grounded boat and recognizes Kuria as the disgraced brother of the Pecheneg Khan before departing. A paranoid jester is then overthrown and locked inside the boat. Baggy later returns with several others, and they fight with a crew. As Leif and Harald arrive, Baggy and his men are killed and Jester is stabbed to death by his slaves. In London, Emma prays for forgiveness for having caused Aelfwin's death as Godwyn and Jitha mourn her. Agnar informs Emma that Godwyn paid a large sum of money to a man known as the Bear days before her attempted assassination. Imprisoned in Jomsborg, Freydis gives birth to a son, who she names Harald. Herker immediately takes the child to claim as his own, angering the neglected Jorundr. Herker tells Jorundr that he must kill Freydis in order to regain his trust. However, Jorundr rescues the baby and helps fake Freydis' death before escaping Jomsborg. Herker intercepts them and Freydis is forced to flee alone. In Sussex, Emma and Agnar search for the Bear, only to discover that he has been killed, although they find Godwyn's father's ring. Canute returns to London and, doubtful that Godwyn is behind the assassination attempt, betroths his niece Jitha to him. In Novgorod, Olaf meets with Yaroslav and promises to stop the Jomsvikings from raiding the Baltic trade routes. In Jomsborg, Hrefna helps a weakened Freydis recover. Jorundr is put on trial, and after Herker frames him for Freydis' death, the Jomsborg elders decide to have Jorundr's right hand removed before he's exiled. Freydis later challenges Herker, who easily defeats her, but the Jomsvikings rise up and stone him to death, allowing Freydis to be reunited with her son. On the Dnieper River, after reaching a large waterfall, only Harald wants to keep going. Leif becomes romantically involved with Miriam, who plans to eventually ingest poison to end her suffering as her illness has worsened. Elena tells Harald that Vitamir was bringing the precious cargo to Constantinople to stop raids on their home in Chud. Harald then removes most of the cargo and the mast from the ship, and together the crew heads over the waterfall. Having landed downstream of the waterfall, the crew is scattered. A group of Pechenegs find the grounded boat and capture Harald. The rest of the crew reunite and discover that Cadlin, one of the former slaves, didn't survive the fall. Harald is brought before Tyrach, a Pecheneg leader, who tortures him until Leif arrives with Kuria, and Tyrach sends word to the Khan of his brother's return. Elena and the former slaves Brigtalk and Dorn soon free Leif and Harald, who kill Tyrach, but the group are forced to flee when the Khan's forces arrive. They reach the boat and return it to the water, but Kuria remains behind to confront his brother and kills him with Miriam's poison. Before Kuria can be dismembered by the Khan's vengeful men, Leif shoots him with an arrow out of mercy. Departing from Novgorod, Olaf begins his search for Jomsborg after his ambitions are renewed when he's blessed by a bishop. In Jomsborg, Freydis brings the Jomsvikings and pagan refugees together, allowing them to worship in the previously restricted temple, whilst Gudrid regrets allowing Jorundr's exile. Alone and dying at sea, Jorundr is discovered by Olaf. Olaf's forces arrive in Pomerania, and Olaf tells Jorundr about his father, which convinces him to reveal Jomsborg's location. Olaf soon meets with Freydis to taunt her, whilst Gudrid gives Jorundr a secret message. Jorundr then leads Halbjorn, Olaf's second in command, to an ambush at Jomsborg's sentinel, and they kill each other. Olaf's forces attack Jomsborg, but Freydis leads them into a trap, burning them all alive. An enraged Olaf battles Freydis until she impales him with a spear, killing him and leaving Svein as the sole survivor. Freydis later brings Svein to Kattegat in exchange for peace with Elfjafu. In London, despite Emma's protest, Godwyn and Jitha are married, putting their future children in line for the throne of England. Hoping to torment Godwyn, Emma gifts Jitha the ring she recovered from Sussex to act as a constant reminder of Godwyn's father's shameful past. On the Dnieper River, Miriam's condition forces the crew to stop. Alone with Leif, she gives him the key to her home in Constantinople before succumbing to her illness. The Byzantine Emperor, Romanos Roman III, travels to meet the crew, revealing Elena as his betrothed, and Harald gains his favor. Their journey complete, the crew finally reach Constantinople. Let us know in the comments which moment shocked you the most and what you expect from the rest of the season. Skal.